Welcome to episode 2 of the Secret to Success podcast. Today, I'm delighted to welcome my friend Brad Webber to the pod. Brad has 18 caps for the New Zealand All Blacks, which, if you have no idea about rugby, playing the All Blacks are probably the most famous and greatest rugby team in the world. Very few get the opportunity to play for them. Obviously, you have to be born in New Zealand for that. But also, in New Zealand, it is a culture. If you don't want to marry an All Black, you want to be an All Black. So for Brad to be able to play for the most iconic rugby team in the world is an incredible achievement. Brad's gone through loads of highs and lows, from when I met him as a university student in Dunedin through to captaining the Chiefs, one of the really great teams in the Super Rugby competition, to now playing for Stade Francais in Paris at the back end of his career. Brad is really inspiring. He does lots of TV work. He does lots of good work. He speaks well. He's thoughtful. And I really enjoyed my chat to Websy and how he has created his career and where he's gone through in his journey to get to where he is now. Websy's career, when I met him actually about 20 years ago, could have gone one or two ways, and he achieved some great things in the game, including playing at a World Cup. It was a great conversation, and I'm excited for you guys to hear it. Welcome to the pod, Brad Webber. Thank you very much for joining me, mate. I appreciate it. I'm going to fire straight into it. And as it is the Secret to Success podcast, success looks different to everybody. What does success look like to you, and how has that evolved over time?
Good question to start deep. I'd say, initially my success to me looked like winning rugby games, making teams, playing international rugby. That was, I was very results focused. Nowadays, I think it's very much changed. I think I certainly don't judge the game on the weekend, if we win or lose, as success for me. For me, it's how did I prepare through the week? Did I give myself the best opportunity to perform well on Saturday? Was I diligent in my preparation? And coming off the field after however many minutes or playing the whole game, if I look myself in the mirror, did I do everything possible that week to have success? And that if I can say yes, and if I knew I did all I can, then that's success to me. I'm trying to not so worried about the wins and losses on Saturday, as much as I hate losing. It's more so it's almost like no end goal. It's almost like, how good of a rugby player can I be? And did I give myself the best opportunity this week through my preparation?
The old sort of process and outcomes. So if you do the processes, the outcomes will look after themselves to a degree, and just going through that, I suppose. Is that something like that?
Yeah, exactly. As long as I'm consistent and I can step on the field knowing, being full confidence. And for me, confidence you don't just come up with it out of thin air. Confidence comes through competence first, and through having done that before, and that's what I think experience brings in rugby terms. Is I've been there, I've done it so many times, and I've prepared so well through the week that I could, on a scale, I could play well or I could play like crap, but at least I've given myself the best opportunity to play well. So so long as that's consistent, and I think my floor of my performances gets higher and higher.
Obviously, and there won't be everybody that's rugby people that listen to this pod, but playing for the All Blacks is probably the greatest achievement that anybody could achieve, really. Or obviously, there's lots of people that can't because they're not Kiwis. But obviously, the pinnacle is playing for the All Blacks, and everybody knows that as a brand. Obviously, you were lucky enough to play that. What was the pressure like playing that, and what did that sort of mean to become a success? Was it a success getting into the ABs and that was it, or is it then you need 30 caps or 50 caps, or do you need to win every game? Is it winning World Cups? What does success look like? For me, to play for the All Blacks once, for example, would be beyond the realms possible, or international rugby English for me. But for you, where did the success end, or is it always just next?
As soon as I played my first test, I thought I'd cracked it. I've ticked it off. I've made it. The thing with being an All Black and the pressure of being an All Black in New Zealand is massive. The All Blacks are expected to win every single game. Then they're expected to, especially I suppose through that golden era, and even the expectations from the public is massive. It's not only to win, but it's to win well.
Yeah.
So for me just to get there, like it was a bit of a journey. I wasn't always the most talented growing up or earmarked to do great things, so I had to work pretty hard to get there. And certainly, like I had 4 years between my first test and my second test, which is, I don't know. I feel like that might be some sort of record because, yeah,
Did you think it was gone? Did you think that was it? You played and you'd done it, and then you weren't going to get that second cap?
it was that 4 years was a real journey, mate. No, my first cap came about as a bit of a surprise because Tawara Kurbala had gotten injured in my second year of Super Rugby, and so I got more of an opportunity from some more starting opportunities. Played well, and there was still some pretty experienced nines ahead of me. I got a crack against Samoa. It was in a World Cup year, so they were never really going to take a young guy like me. So I was happy just to have been in the conversation and to have made it that far just through playing well, through some consistent game time. The next year, Tawara Kurbala was back, so like we were sharing duties at the Chiefs. So like not making it that year wasn't I would say an expectation. Like I was still, there's some experienced guys ahead of me. I would have had to have really displaced Tawara to get there, but it was more sort of like trying to get better each and every year, and certainly learning a lot off a guy like Tawara. 2017, I broke my leg, so I wasn't. So that presented its own sort of challenges. I missed that whole year. 2018 is like a real learning curve for me. I'd come back from a broken leg. Tawara had gone overseas, so that halfback spot was available alongside Aaron Smith and TJ Perinaro, who played a lot of tests.
Yeah.
And didn't make it that year. It was so that presented some real challenges in terms of like what I was just talking about before. Like, at that time, my success was all about whether I made the All Blacks or not. It would obsess, I'd be obsessed with it. That's I was constantly thinking, oh, what do the All Black selectors think? Like, what are they looking for? And then it would really, certainly in the back half of seasons, that would really cloud my thinking. And I'd play I'd start a Super Rugby season really well. And then, people start talking, and then All Black selections around the corner, and I start overthinking it, and I start playing like crap at the back end. And so I deservedly didn't make the squad in 2018. And and then in 2019, that's when I sort of learned a lot from my mistakes and how I approach things, changed my mindset, and funnily enough, I played the best year that I'd had, and managed to force my way back. So I guess it's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question initially around like how like the All Black stuff kind of changes, or like the pressure of it. Initially, the first 4 years, the pressure I put on myself to making that team was through the roof. But when I stopped worrying about selection or the outside pressures, and focusing on things that I could actually control, which was my preparation and ultimately that would lead to my performance, then it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I just started playing really well. And so I've tried to stick with that mindset going forward. And it wasn't always smooth sailing, even though I was in the side from 2019 to 2022. It's but I tried to keep that same mindset, and it certainly, I think, helped me deal with mistakes a lot better, and with disappointment, and not ultimately All Black selection and stuff like that's all out of my control.
Did you find that? So on the last pod I had a fellow called Chris Ribeiro, who's a friend of mine, who's ex-pro footballer, soccer player a bit. And he was like tipped for big things, blew his ACL quite young, and then was the pressure of coming back of injuries was always. And he said the last couple of years of his career really enjoyed it, played his best football, and it's sort of like this thing where. And I asked him, I said, "What?" And I'll ask you in a bit, like, what do you sort of? He wished he'd enjoyed his footy more, like enjoyed playing more, and not had the pressure. It's really hard when you're 18, 19, 21, 24, like in it, to like enjoy it and like not have the pressure of it. And I suppose, did you find as you got a little bit older, you playing in a good Chiefs team that were sort of competing, and obviously you look like you're enjoying it from this side of the world when I watched you. Like, do you think that just made the world a difference as you had that weight off your shoulder, enjoyed playing for the Chiefs, and then the sort of outcome came that you then got to play 3 or 4 years for the ABs?
Yeah, definitely. The funny thing is that in leading up to that 2019 season, when I managed to make it back into the All Blacks. I'd made the decision that, if things don't go well for me, if I don't make the All Blacks, for example, then I'm going to go overseas and try and make as much money as I can before my body gives way.
Yeah.
So the mindset was just to really enjoy potentially my last year with the Chiefs. I don't want to leave any regrets. I just want to have fun with my mates. The Chiefs was it for me. It's my favourite team that I'd ever been a part of. So if that was to be the last year, then I want to go out having fun and enjoying my rugby. And yeah, it's funny that when you have that mindset, instead of lumping all this pressure or being bogged down by the pressure of professional rugby, you actually end up playing really well, and all that sort of stuff takes care of itself. So I sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I'd figured that out earlier, but ultimately, it was all part of the journey, and I think I'm not sure I would change too much in the end.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I remember seeing you 2019 when we were at Moss Wedding, and that was you were literally thinking about going overseas, and then that was it. Like the penny dropped. It was literally, I remember it. I remember the conversation, thinking where you were going to go. Because it is interesting, because obviously we talk in your context about pro sport, because that's what you've done. But like anybody else listening to this, that's then in business or just career, just trying to enjoy the day to day and the process of it and the mundane because. I think it's like an Alex Hormozy quote. It's like, you've already achieved the goals that you set yourself before, and then everyone's already looking to the next goals. So enjoy the sort of day-to-day process of doing it. And I suppose it sort of leads to my next question. So when we first met a long time ago, 15 years ago or so, you were, I might be over egging this, but I think you were fourth choice halfback in an NPC team in Otago, enjoying your beers in Dunedin and your uni life. And so there might have been you said you didn't quite have the talent, but there also might have been some partying that was probably hindering some performance at times. But obviously then you got a shot to go up to Waikato, what have you. But what was the secret to the success at that point? Was it literally moving away from Dunedin and putting a few tinnies down, or was it was there something else in that through there? Was there more to it than I've probably summarised?
Yeah. To be honest, I enjoyed student life while I was in Dunedin. But no, it certainly was. I don't think it was the beers that were holding me back per se. But I naively thought that just through getting older, that I would get better as a rugby player. I just assumed I would grow, as you could grow as in your teenage years. I wasn't really doing more work on my skill set outside of the training that was prescribed to us with the coaches and with our gym stuff. I would just basically do what was prescribed for me. So once training had finished with the Otago team, I'd be not first one off, but I'd be off the field pretty quickly, not doing any sort of work-ons. And I only really knew what I knew. I didn't really think too much of it until Tony Brown, who was the coach of Otago at the time, called me in halfway through one of the seasons before the Otago team was going to get named, and just said, "We're not going to pick you." And the main reason is you're a good rugby player, but I've never seen you work on your game outside of training, and your skill set's not getting better. And that's when I was like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah, you're right." It was the kick up the bum that I wish I didn't need, but that moment made me realize that my work ethic wasn't good enough, and my talent wasn't high enough that I could get away with it. I actually have to do more than what's been asked of me. And so from that moment forward, I was like, okay, I'm never going to have my work ethic challenged ever again. That's the last time. And so I just chipped away in Dunedin. I was just content with being a student. And then Waikato gave me a call halfway through an NPC season. And up until that point, since Brownie had dropped me, it had been maybe a month or two, I've been working on my game a lot. I've been doing stuff by myself. And so when that opportunity came up, I was ready for one. I'd made so much growth in my skill set that I could let my point of difference, which was my speed and my elusiveness around the ruck, really shine. And so, yeah, went up to Waikato and I think I come off the bench 1 week, and then the next week was playing against Auckland, which is a big grudge match between Waikato and Auckland. I started and scored 2 tries. One was like a 40-meter like break through the middle, beat the fullback, and I was just like, holy crap! Like what 2 weeks ago I was in Dunedin in the library studying, and then here I am starting for an NPC team. And then the very next day, Dave Rennie, who was the chief, head coach of the Chiefs at the time, he came around to my house the very next day and offered me a Chiefs contract. So, like, it was just
what a week.
it was just funny. Like, yeah, I was devastated that I'd been dropped from that Otago side, but in the long run, it was actually probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it taught
and also I suppose at that point you could have gone, I know best, like some chippy teenagers could have done, and go like, nah, I'm all right. I'm just going to carry on with my studies and going out with my mates, and I'll play. It'll turn up. Or you could have done what you did, which was head down for a month, and then the sort of, you make your own luck, don't you? Like like if you'd gone half cooked up to Waikato, you wouldn't have done that. Wouldn't have got the Chiefs contract, and you wouldn't have probably had the career that you've had. So like, there's two ways of doing it. There's two ways of looking at it. And they're like, the kick up the arse was probably helpful, but people react differently, don't they? Carrot and stick sort of thing. And obviously you took that well. What's the biggest risk you've taken in your career, and how has it shaped you? Like, have you taken any risks? Have you needed to?
Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of the risks that I've taken have probably been forced upon me, to be honest. Like what I just described to you then. Like, I moved up to Waikato, but it was like I didn't really have another option. So it's like, I don't know if it was a risk per se, but to be fair, I actually think the biggest risk I've taken is coming over here to France. Like, I was comfortable in New Zealand. Like, Chiefs was my home. I'd been there for 10 years. I was the captain of the side, played over 100 games, like in a really good side that played footy that really really suited my style. And I decided to pack up and leave and come to France, to Paris, and play a completely different style of rugby in a big city in Paris, which I'm not really used to. Without my partner too. My partner had to stay in New Zealand, and so I'm here by myself. So that was, I'd say, a pretty big risk. I'd say the biggest thing that's taught me is like how important a support network is around you. I probably didn't realize it at the time in New Zealand, because I was, like I said, I was so comfortable. Like, the Chiefs was there. I had so many of my friends there. It was, life was pretty easy. I was doing well, whereas here I didn't have that, and really probably underappreciated how much support my partner gives me. And so coming over here is like, I'm thrown in the deep end by myself in a country that doesn't, I don't speak the language. I'm getting slowly better, but at the time I was like, far out. Like, you realize how much your family and your close friends and your partner, how much support they give you.
Yeah, and I suppose context for you as well, even moving to Paris into France, like if you had gone to maybe someone like a Toulon or south of France, so you'd have been a little bit more known and sort of recognised maybe, and had a little bit more sort of help around you potentially from the locals, whereas Paris, like, no one gives a hoot, do they? Like, it's
it's a blessing and a curse though. Like, it is actually coming from Hamilton, where the Chiefs and the All Blacks is the be all and end all. Coming to Paris where no one knows you and you can just sort of blend in with the crowd, it's actually quite nice at times. You can just be a sort of a normal bloke. Like,
I ask people this, and I'm going to ask it in a slightly different way for you, because we've just sort of touched on it a little bit, but in a world of like constant like distractions and like connectivity, so always phones, social media obviously being the regular topic, and I suppose, like, if I was asking a business owner this, it'd be like, how do you stay focused, like, from a day-to-day basis working around? For you, I suppose, and I ask you this, in how do you stay focused when your distractions are, you could be the media, right? So you are the news if you've played well or not well, and or are moving abroad or whatever, and will have an opinion on it, like they do in New Zealand, whether you've left or not. Some more than others. Like, how do you stay focused from those distractions, from the news, from the noise? Probably less so now you're in France, because, like, as we just discussed, they don't probably talk about you as much. New Zealand, you will have got it. So how do you stay focused in that?
Look, it's really hard, to be honest, when you've got keyboard warriors talking crap about you, and it's pretty easy
Yeah,
to get.
sorry about
Yeah, all your burner accounts just
that.
shooting me. But it can be quite tough, especially early on, because like you can't help but look at that sort of stuff. It takes a little while to, I guess, resist the temptation to look at comments or respond to people. I'm good now. Like I don't even I pretty much don't even follow like my own teams and stuff, or like I'll mute them on my social media so that I
Yeah.
don't, so that stuff doesn't come through to me, because like as much as we love our fans and stuff, lots of those people who are commenting on your performance or the team's performance don't see the day-to-day stuff. And like that's what I remind myself of mostly, is that they don't know what the coaches are asking of players, or why we do certain things, or the decisions we're making in certain areas. They've got no context. They love the game, and we love them for it, but ultimately we're the experts. We're selected for a reason. We're trained through the week to do certain things, and those are the people's opinions that I care about most. Are the my coaches, my teammates, people that I trust. So like I try to remind myself of that all the time, and then just I guess about being consistent is how I stay focused, is consistent in my performance. And like I sort of said right at the start, it's like if I can look in the mirror and say that I've prepared well, then performance is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose we get this loads over here, so I'm going to relate this to two things. But I, I was lucky enough to play a brief amount of professional sport, nowhere near your level, and so I can see it from both angles. But I see, like, now I'm sort of a fan, and I watch England play, and the media and humans over here in England are super critical of our own
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Like, even though we've come close a few times recently, they just hate it. They just hate the team, and they want to criticize. And I always say, it's not like you're not allowed an opinion because you've never played pro sport, but I look at people or read comments and like, you've never come close to playing professional sport. The pressure that these lads put on themselves, the hard work they'll put in, like you say, the structure they'll be asked to play within that may or may not suit them, but like they haven't always got a choice about it. And I suppose this links to another thing, which is a bit of a wider point of mine that I'm really frustrated with at the moment, is that everybody's opinions in the world at the moment are so binary, so right or wrong. It's never quite open-minded enough to go like, I didn't think that so-and-so played very well, but I can understand maybe within this context that they haven't. And everything's so like, I love or hate him. I love Trump or hate Trump in this week's thing or whatever it is. It's like, oh, he's done some good. He's a crazy buck of this side. Like, everything's so binary, and I find that hard. So for you guys, it must be like you either played badly or you didn't, which actually is never the case. It's like there was a couple of things that didn't quite go your way, or it's something that you were asked to do and it just didn't fit into the system very well, or what.
It's so true, yeah. And like certainly I often think that the negative people are often the loud minority as well. I think you got to really remind yourself of that like I love the fact that people can have debates on our sport and are passionate about it. Like that's what we love. I reckon it's not until like there's like big parties after each French game here,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I've loved. Like it's called the bodega, and like it's big big bar with like where all the fans go, and we go back there afterwards as well, and we mix and mingle with the fans. And like I've had so many lovely, lovely people just come up, even if we've had a loss, and just be like, "Look, we loved what you did out there. Like, we can see you guys are trying so hard. You're putting your bodies on the line. You're doing so much, and we just love supporting you." And like when you get that sort of feedback, it's like that's when you realize there's so many cool, great fans out there that are going to support you no matter what. And it's probably more so the loud minority that are spewing. And I've never had someone come up and say it to my face yet. So it's like that's sort of when you realize it's like, okay, those people don't matter. Like
Yeah.
for me, like don't get me wrong. Like I love our fans. Like I said, it's great, but for me to worry about, well, let them let that sort of thing dictate my mood or my feelings on how I played, then that's not doing me any good whatsoever.
No,
So
but it
like,
can
what's
though. Yeah, you're right. You've got to shut it out. Like I was when we were at the restaurant, like we'd have 50 good TripAdvisor reviews or 50 good reviews, but I'd always focus on the one negative that come through, and I think that's also human bias as well, isn't it? Like you say, like you might get 100 pats on the back at the end of the game. And I remember we came to watch you at Racing, like people coming around the side, pat you on the back. You'll probably remember the one where they go, or if and they, I know they don't do it to your face, but you'd remember the one that said, I didn't think you played very well. And it's like it is a human thing in terms of being able to block the negativity out, but we really do focus on it at times as well, don't we? And like maybe as you get older it's a little bit easier, but I bet 24, 25 you'd have been like up all night worried about like what people are saying, sort of thing.
Especially kids or like younger players these days who have just all I've known is and grown up on is social media. That's all they know. Like they're on it all the time.
Yeah,
that's their life. Like it's so tough. Like I guess we were lucky. We were in that generation that kind of
didn't have the phones to
kind of came through late with it. So it's like less. I guess
Snake on a Nokia phone was
my exactly
right. You sort of touched on, I think you touched on this a little bit, but how have mentors, peers, and even competitors influenced growth? I feel like in pro sport, better than anyone, you'll have people that have really shaped your career. Obviously, you played behind one of the most capped All Blacks of all times in Aaron Smith, which was probably again a blessing and a curse. Can't get into the team, but I imagine he would have been a pretty good mentor at the time as well. But obviously, who else have you had that's really helped your career and shaped you?
Yeah, mate, I've been very, very lucky to have so many great mentors and coaches. Like when I left the Chiefs, like at the end, like when you get to sort of say your one speech at the awards night, I was just like, I just wanted to thank all the coaches that had stuff to do with my career, because they turned me into a way better rugby player than I ever thought was even possible. Like like I was very blessed. Like guys like Dave Rennie and Andrew Strawbridge, and we even had Wayne Smith, who was like, considered one of the best rugby coaches of all time at the Chiefs, and there's so many others that like have just shaped certainly like the way I attack, like my prep. Like they turned me into a good rugby player, but they all made me realize like how important the week is. They've been huge for me, and then I must say a couple of mental skills guys were huge for me. A guy called Dave Galbraith was massive through that period where I wasn't getting selected for the ABs, and through my injury. Like he had some pretty deep, honest conversations with me, things that I probably didn't want to hear, but that were certainly necessary and helped change my perspective on my career and things I can control and other things, so that I can put my preparation first. And then a guy called Aaron Walsh, who's the Chiefs. He's actually I think he's a Scottish mental skills guy. He was with us at the Chiefs, and certainly around like leadership and things like that was huge. So yeah, mate, like I've been without those sorts of people, I just wouldn't be the rugby player I am now. I'd still be a student, drinking in Dunedin probably. Having fun though.
Yeah. Who would have known how good that would have been? What's an outdated belief or habit that you've had to let go of? What's something that you was a part of you that you've had to sort of really sort of work to change potentially, if you've been self-aware enough to sort of work out that?
Don't know if there's been too
perfect through life. It's not been a problem.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been too many that are like certain like I was sort of mentioning earlier, like like I naively thought that just by getting older I would get better. Like you actually have to put, if you want to get better at something, you actually have to put in the work. It doesn't come naturally. The people that work for things are the ones that makes it happen. So yeah, that would be the big learning for me. And then maybe the other one that people probably would hate, people probably not like me saying this, I reckon ice baths are overrated.
Yeah.
But
the influencer generation hate that. But
I just hate it.
Yeah.
No science behind that whatsoever, I swear.
Well, just Wim Hof. The hard work one, I love, because you see all the great people in both sport and business, and no one's done it easy. Like, and I think like the 1,000 hour rule is a thing that's even outdated for me. Like, I think it needs to be 10,000 hours. I think like it needs to be 10 years of hard graft, like not just 1,000 hours, whatever that is, a year of hard work. Like, you've got to put in so much work to be the best. And talk about your Ronaldo's in football, or even like in your where you were, like Richie McCaw and Dan Carter. That, like those greats were, they didn't. They were talented, but like they wouldn't have got nowhere without any hard work. I think it's the same. I read a book recently, From Bristol to Billionaire, a guy called Andrew Wilkinson. Like, and he worked his socks off. He talks about how hard it was, like, right, ruined his life at times, like to be as good as he is at his business. And I think the work ethic thing is just, you always see people do well in life, or people come from the sidelines and go, oh, how lucky is he? He must have had it easy. But yeah, even listening to like your story, like going through, the different bits and even the injuries, like the hard work must be brutal.
Mate, it's massive. Like not everyone's lucky enough to be blessed with so much talent. And I even get like reminders now that I'm in France. Like, I'll have a week where, or probably longer, a couple of weeks where I don't work on my French, and then I notice that my French is crap that week. Like, there's like, if I have a week or a couple of weeks where I actually, I'm like, all right, phone away, let's actually work on it then. And especially if I have to present stuff in meetings, like if I don't prepare for that, then I just stumble through it, and boys are like, geez, your French got worse. And then other times where like, I might actually sit down and try and rip through some stuff, and boys are like, yeah, that was.
Do you not just do what we English do, is just speak louder and slower?
Just say everything with a French accent in it.
Yeah. This might be the same one as I sort of asked you earlier in the race, but what's the hardest decision you've had to make? Is it been the move to France?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was, I was umming and ahhing over it for a long time when I had the deal presented to me, mostly because I was coming over here by myself. Like, me and my partner had talked about it. She's a doctor back in New Zealand, works bloody hard. Like, she's actually pretty inspiring to me myself, but like, she couldn't just put her work and her training on hold to come over here for 3 years. So that was like a fair bit of stuff to work through. But we've always been really supportive of each other's careers, like really. And I think for me, ultimately, like, I often, when I'm making decisions, like, I'll think like, okay, like when I'm 55 and I'm an old bugger catching up with you, Si, in a pub, like, what do I want to be talking about? What do I want to be proud of? What do I, and what would I regret more? And I think if I'd stayed in New Zealand and not given French rugby a crack, I would have regretted that more than coming over here and risking some life stuff. And ultimately, me and my partner have been really, really good. I've got a year and a half left here, so we're halfway through. And yeah, like, I think, getting out of my comfort zone and giving French rugby a crack, one of the best comps in the world. Like, ultimately, when I finish playing rugby, I think I'll be real proud of that.
And, yeah, because and even for context, like, knowing you and knowing where you were at in life there, like, it was so good for you. Like, you had it, like, the rugby was good, your mates were good, the area was good, like, you captain, like, you had some TV work, didn't you, that you were enjoying doing, and like, you had some good mates in there. Like, that was a great route for a career at the back end of it as well. So like, to sort of pack up and put all of that on pause, granted for a decent paycheck, which we don't mention, but like, it's still a big call, isn't it? And obviously, and then the missus is going to support you when you finish, so you need to, to make sure that she gets through those exams.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. She's the retirement plan for me ultimately. But no, like, like, she's been, like I was sort of saying, she's been such a good support for me. And so, like, when I finish this contract, I'll likely go back to New Zealand, and like, it'll be my turn to reciprocate what she's given me, and for me to support her wherever she wants to go. So
good on you, mate. Mate, it's been a great conversation, and this is my sort of last question, and I think you've probably answered this already, but we'll finish off with it. If you could go back and start over, knowing what you know now, what is the one thing that you would do differently?
Oh, I've been asked this a lot. Honestly, I don't think I would do anything differently.
Okay.
I think every mistake I've made, every moment that's happened to me has shaped where I am today. And, if I did things differently, maybe I wouldn't be here right now. Like, it all kind of happened for reasons, almost like that butterfly effect, right? Like if I change one thing back in the past, maybe everything changes
Yeah.
in the future. And I've loved my career, mate. I've been very, very lucky that I've been able to live sort of two lives. I've been able to be a student and be a normal person in Dunedin, and then be a professional rugby player, which a lot of rugby players these days are getting scouted from high schools and getting straight into professional environments. Not many people are getting to do that anymore. You're kind of doing one or the other. So I'm just I've had so much fun along the way that I don't think I would change a lot, mate.
Oh, man, that's refreshing to hear, because I suppose everyone sort of thinks they should answer that with I'm going to change this. But and you're right, I think probably for you, and probably words in your mouth potentially, but when I was trained as an electrician and then played a little bit of pro sport, I appreciate it more. Like I saw a lot of the lads that were just gone academy to think, almost like at 21, 22, they were sick of rugby by that point because they'd just been flogged for 10 years before they'd even started playing. Yeah. And I think for you, obviously, to have that little bit of a, enjoy your life and then go into it, you probably, I presume, have appreciated it more throughout that process, and what is on the other side, which is a bit of hard work or not quite the beauty that pro sport gives you at times. There is pressure, but there's also a lot of good in pro sport, isn't there?
100%. I like a lot of sort of my mates around similar sort of age, we all sort of say maybe some of these guys should, or academies and stuff should always have make guys go out and do life experience for 3 months, even 3 months, on the tools, or being
admin, customer service, even hospitality or something. Yeah.
Then you really appreciate how good professional rugby is, because look, it's hard at times. It is seriously it's mentally it can be a bit of a fry, but geez, when you're out in Paris, training, for a few hours a day with your mates, it can be hard, but geez, it's way better than being on the tools or being stuck in an office. And I've certainly got that appreciation for that, because I was staring down the barrel of that for a while. And like you say, some of these guys just, they don't know life any differently, and that's that's not on them. It's just the way that the system is.
Yeah, it's the way the system is. Yeah, absolutely. And some get it when they have kids and stuff, and that puts a slightly different perspective on stuff and the work that comes in being a parent. But like I said, I agree with you. I think everybody should have to do some sort of hard work or whatever that is. And what I remember was with pro sport, I loved is that because you train in the day, so you train whatever 8 till 2, for example, is that then you didn't have to go to the gym in the evening or a morning, so you'd even have even more time than you think. So now I've got to go to work and then try and squeeze in the gym if I want to do that. It just extends your day so much further. So little bits like that are beauty.
Well, I remember when I was at uni in Dunedin, me and my mate would we'd get up at 5 a.m. to go to the academy training in the morning, gym in the morning, then do our studies right through the day, and then have training at night. So you're 5 a.m. to sort of 7:30 p.m.
Long days,
all sort of pro rugby players. We got it pretty good.
We've got 18 months left of it, and then we'll see, mate.
Yeah, exactly right.
Awesome, mate. Websy, thank you so much for your time. I've really, really enjoyed chatting through this. It's been great. And everyone that's listened, thank you very much. See you later, pal.
See you, mate.